Hello, everybody. Then I did the hard part last time, right? So now I
Mm-hmm.
get to do the easy part. Okay.
I gotta warm up the mouth.
Are you hearing this?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how long this is going to last.
It's barely audible.
Is that the Eagles?
Your guess is as good as mine, because I don't know.
Um, I wonder if you at home can hear
Can you guys
whatever
hear
is
the Eagles?
happening out here right outside of my apartment window. This is the joys of living in a city. This wasn't happening 10 seconds ago.
They waited till you hit record.
They legitimately waited until I hit record.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how audible is it? Because we're going to have to just forge ahead because it's not showing any signs of stopping.
I can't hear it at all.
Okay. Okay.
I can hear it a little bit now,
Okay.
but not when we're talking.
I just wonder if it's just going to be in the background of the episode the entire time.
Then we're gonna get copyrighted.
I'm just like, I gotta know.
Just turn your noise gate up.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe I'll even turn mine on.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna start recording.
Same.
Bam. All right.
Do I still have waves? Oh yeah, she
You got the
do.
waves?
Mm-hmm.
She waving.
She's waving.
All right. And do three, two, one. All right, three, two. It got louder.
It did get louder. The song can't be more than like 2 minutes long, right?
But what if another Eagles song starts up?
We're doing Hotel California.
One moment. I'm just going to see. I just have to see what's going on here.
It's gonna be
Hold
the
on.
Ice Cream Man. Yeah.
There's like some dude working on his motorcycle outside and just blasting this music right outside my window. So
You open the window and scream, "I'm calling the police."
it's it's the city. There's no ordinance until 10 p.m. So
Mm. Mm-mm.
yay. We'll see. There might just be a really interesting like classic rock soundtrack happening
Mm-hmm.
for
Hey,
the yeah.
I'm here for it.
All right, do three, two, one.
Mm-hmm.
Three, two, one. Welcome to the Idiot's Guide to Horror.
Counteracting the toxic culture surrounding horror fandom and breaking down your favorite horror movies.
With you as always, your host, Cara Detective Muldoon Popovich.
And Christopher Detective Goodman Haberman. Everybody, turn off the lights, grab your cursed videotape, and pull the hair out of your throat, and let's get ready to dissect The Ring. Was that too gross?
It was pretty gross. That's like
Yeah.
probably the grossest part of the movie.
Yeah.
Um People at home listening to this podcast, I'd just like to apologize in advance. Someone in my neighborhood has parked outside of my window and is they're partaking in the hits of yesteryear
Mm-hmm.
as loudly as they possibly can.
Now, are they listening to it from their motorcycle radio?
I
Or is it like
think
a boombox?
I think that it's the motorcycle radio, but the motorcycle isn't going. So I'm
Hmm.
not sure exactly what's happening. But if you hear some eagles, I
Maybe some
apologize.
Skid Row.
It is not. It is not my eagles. It is not my Skid Row. Um, please do not blame me. But anyway, yeah, we're covering the ring.
Which nobody liked on Instagram.
It
Not
was
like 4 people a day.
But you know, I did see that somebody, was like, "I'm so excited."
Was it my alt account? Because it could have been.
So this was 2002, directed by Gore Verbinski, who is the same person that directed Pirates of the Caribbean. And if you
Hmm.
ask me, it shows a little bit stylistically.
I never knew that.
Yeah. So this was like the hit of sleepovers in 2002. This was like
Hmm.
when I was like 13. This was like what you watched, and if you didn't, like, you weren't shit.
Yeah.
Um, and in a lot of ways, it was kind of like my big introduction into horror movies that actually scared me, because up until then I had only watched like The Lost Boys. And this scared the bejesus out of me. Today, gonna be honest, not as much.
Now, this is one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Um, could I tell you why? Is it Naomi Watts and her bad accent? I don't know. But I
Um,
love this movie.
yeah, when she's like yelling, like "Leave
Leave
him
him alone.
alone!"
Like we
Yeah,
all know. I wrote that
yeah,
in my notes too. Like we can tell you're not American.
right. She wasn't quite. Was she really popular yet? What else had she had done? Like
No.
Mulholland Drive
Yeah.
in America, but I think that
She
might
was
have been like it.
Gore Verbinski tried to cast a lot of no-name actors for this.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. I love Naomi Watts. I also liked her in that other movie, the Funny Games. Remember Funny
Oh,
Games?
Funny Games is the scariest movie ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Golfers, gross.
yeah. Ew.
Ugh.
Shorts.
Michael
Uh,
Pitt.
yes. And that kid from 13.
Mm. Do you know
So
Michael Pitt has a band?
does he really? I know that
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Gosling does because it's actually, well, he did.
Michael
And,
Pitt does a cover of Jimi Hendrix song, and it's so good.
well, he was Tommy Gnosis, so I'm not surprised. Yeah. Anyway. Um,
Enough about Michael Pitt. I'm
enough
gonna put this
about
in the
Michael
notes.
Pitt and Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which
Mm-hmm.
you should watch if you have not ever watched. It's an incredible movie. Um, you can watch The Ring on Hulu or Paramount Plus, or you could probably go to like your local resale shop and buy at least 5 copies of it on DVD.
Or if you're like me, you have at least two copies of it on DVD, plus the sequel, which
I,
I've never seen.
you've never seen the
Rings?
sequel? Oh,
No, the newest one,
Rings. Oh,
Rings.
okay.
I bought it off Amazon Marketplace years ago, and I've yet to watch it.
Okay. I haven't seen Rings either.
Hmm.
I remember going to see The Ring 2 in the theater and being thoroughly disappointed because it was
Well,
nowhere near as scary.
maybe it's like Blair Witch 2, which I'm going to find out here soon enough.
I'm um I'm really interested to see how you handle Blair Witch Project 2, The Book of Shadows. It's
I've started it twice, and I have
you
never
can't get
finished it.
past the first like 5 minutes because it's
No, because
garbage.
it's garbage. But I put it
Oh,
in my Hooptober list, and it wound up, and I went on random.org and put it as the very last movie. So it's going to ruin my Hooptober.
don't let it ruin your entire Hooptober.
I can't because I watched Triangle last night. Have you seen Triangle?
Uh-uh.
Fuck me. I watched it twice in a row.
Really? You liked it that much? What is
It
it?
was
What's indulge us?
it's on Paramount Plus or Peacock. It's on Peacock. Yeah. It's on a streaming service right now.
Okay, this looks interesting.
It's about this young lady who goes on a date on this yacht with her new boyfriend or a man she's going on a date with and their friends, and they get stuck in this storm. The yacht capsizes and they make their way onto this boat, and then it goes off the wall bonkers.
Okay.
And you're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand. And then later you're like, I don't understand, but it's so good. And I have to watch it again immediately.
That sounds like my kind of thing. That sounds good.
It's so mind fucky. then it doesn't make any sense, and that never made any sense. Like, it might make sense, but I know that it was so good that I had to watch it twice.
It doesn't make sense. It might make sense.
It was
That's how I like
magical.
it. That's how I
Yeah,
like it.
magical.
Um, I have barely dove into my Hooptober yet. I'm going to go a little bit further tonight and watch Samurai Reincarnation.
Hmm.
I'm very excited for that. It's a Sonny Chiba movie that I had never seen. And I didn't know that Sonny Chiba made any kung fu horror movies, so
The
I'm
more you know.
I'm ecstatic. I'm so excited.
Right now,
Um,
I'm an hour and a half in. No, I'm an hour into People Under the Stairs.
People Under the Stairs is a great movie.
I don't know about great.
Oh, you don't like it? Okay. We'll talk about it later. Anyway, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about The Ring
The
today.
Ring.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, we already said you can watch it on Hulu, Paramount Plus. It's, one of the most famous like DVDs that, like I said, like it's every time I go into like a Goodwill or whatever, there's at least 5 copies of The Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so last week you did the back of the box description, so I guess it's my turn. Are you wearing your Nominate Tony Collette You Cowards shirt?
Why, yes, I am.
It's fantastic. I'm just distracting because I mean it deserves reverence, but also I'm
Mm-hmm.
distracting because I'm not very good at the back of the box description, but I'll see what I
Oh,
can do.
me neither. You're better than me. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to base this on my experiences with The Ring.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 2002. You have a friend that their parents don't really monitor what they watch, so you always go to their house to see what's up in the world of horror. Was it you? Were you that
Mm-hmm.
friend? Yeah.
That was it.
Um, because maybe your mom isn't that into horror movies and doesn't like for you to watch them, and so you have to go to this friend's house, and you go, and it's time for a sleepover, and you see like they have rented a movie, and it's called The Ring, and there is a beautiful blonde woman screaming with her hand over her mouth on the cover, and a well, and the tape is blue, and you go, oh no, and then you turn it over, and the back of the box says, it sounded just it sounded like just another urban legend. A videotape filled with nightmarish images leading to a phone call foretelling the viewer's death in exactly 7 days. As a newspaper reporter, Rachel Keller was naturally skeptical of the story until 4 teenagers all met with mysterious deaths exactly 1 week after watching just such a tape. Allowing her investigative curiosity to get the better of her, Rachel tracks down the video and watches it. Now she has just 7 days to unravel the mystery of The Ring. Did you pull that from the actual back of the box?
I literally typed up the letterbox description.
All right, fair enough. So spoiler warning, we're going to talk about this movie in depth up to and including the ending. Um, so if you haven't seen this movie, please pause this episode and watch it. How long is it 2 hours long?
I don't know. It could be longer. I would still watch it.
It felt like it was like 2 hours long.
Oh, you're killing me.
I think
It
I'm just
is 115 minutes.
okay. Maybe I'm just disappointed because I was so scared of it when I was younger, and now like maybe it's just because I'm so desensitized that I was like, this is for
I don't know.
babies.
I might just for babies. I my top 10 movies include The Ring and The Blair Witch Project, which were my childhood favorites. But however, The Blair Witch Project is still terrifying to this day.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Blair
Mm-hmm.
Witch Project is still scary for sure. I'm actually just assuming that because the last time I tried to see it, I went to go see it at the Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got so sick from watching it. The older I get, the less I can tolerate found footage, I guess.
Oh God, you're missing out.
I know because I actually really love found footage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a
I
sucker
looked
for
really
that.
hard for this week. Whenever you said I could pick whatever I wanted, I looked for a found footage. I was gonna pick Hell House LLC,
Oh
but
yeah, hell yeah.
I'm like, no, there's a clown and Kara doesn't like clowns. And then I was like, Blair Witch Project, but it's not streaming anywhere. So I'm like, okay, The Ring.
Right. Okay. It works because we're
Mm-hmm.
now like by the time you guys are hearing this tomorrow, we have officially entered spooky season.
Oh yeah, because tomorrow is the 1st of October.
Tomorrow's the 1st of October.
I mean, today is because it's Friday.
Yes, yes, we are recording this on Friday at
Mm-hmm.
midnight,
Mm-hmm.
and
And releasing it at the exact same time. It's going
yes,
up live.
it's live. We're doing it live. Fuck it, we're doing it
Mm-hmm.
live. Um,
No, wait, I don't.
so this is based off of the Japanese movie Ringu,
Mm-hmm.
which, if I remember correctly, is actually extremely terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, this was during the wave in the early 2000s when like Japanese movies weren't safe from American remakes. They remade everything
This
that
is the one that
Japan did.
started them.
This was it, and The Grudge,
Yeah, but The Grudge was a year later.
was it?
Mm-hmm. 2003, and it did horribly.
Well, I mean, it's trash.
I don't remember it. I remember that cat boy meowing.
I hated that. That is one
And
thing. Like, if I close my eyes, like I picture that, it makes me extremely uncomfortable.
wasn't Sarah Michelle Gellar in it?
Yes, she was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they made another, like a remake or a reboot or something, a few years ago with Andrea Riseborough and John Cho, and I had to watch it because John Cho was in it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was even worse. It was just
Mm.
terrible. It was so bad. I like barely remember it. Anyway,
I tried to watch Ju-on The Grudge, that
hmm
series on Netflix. So much rape that I couldn't get past 2 episodes.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I guess that like that's kind of a theme in
Uh-huh.
like extremist Japanese cinema sometimes. Um, like, you know, I recently watched an animated movie called Belladonna of Sadness that was like a lot of very sexualized, I guess trigger warning, because we're about to talk about movies that feature these things. Um, it was like a lot of sexualized rape in that one. Well, I don't want to give away the ending of these movies, but there's another Japanese movie that was, made in America again, and the the plot was like pretty heavily centered around. Anyway, that's in a lot of anime. It's like, as obsessed as we are with like female purity, like it's even more of a thing over there. So you just got to kind of take it with a grain of salt, I guess. Um anyway, let's get into some movie facts.
Ooh. Hey, did you know that DreamWorks bought the American rights to Ringu for $1 million?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not
like
bad at
nothing.
all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in 2002, that was
Mm-hmm.
nothing. Long before the movie premiered, the killer video was used as a commercial. The commercial did not mention any movie for nearly a month. I don't
Wouldn't that be
remember
weird?
that.
Yeah, me neither. I don't. I just Google, and whatever Google says, I believe. But I think I'd remember.
Yeah, I do feel like I would remember just like seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember
Because
like one of the features on the DVD was like to just watch the video, and that was fun to
mm-hmm.
use for pranks for a while.
On the original VHS, did I write this down?
It
On
was
the original
after.
VHS, it was before. If you were around the entire way, it would play before the previews started.
Oh, really?
But then they got rid of it for the second wave of VHSs.
I didn't know. That's
Hey, but
weird.
did you know that until 2017, with Stephen King's It, this was the highest grossing horror movie remake in history with a total gross of $249 million.
That's pretty
It's a really good
bonkers.
remake.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's like pretty faithful. It's a pretty faithful adaptation.
It's like 50-50.
The fruit that a Japanese maple tree produce are called samara.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that the tree that like in the outside the cabin, that tree is a Japanese maple tree.
Okay. That may. Oh yeah, the pretty like. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's also made out of just plastic. It wasn't a real tree.
What?
Yeah. Chris Cooper was originally starring in this film to bookend. He was in the opening and the ending as a child murderer. And in the end of the movie, Rachel gave him a copy of the tape, but it was cut from the final version of the film because the fans found it too distracting because he was an actual famous person in a movie full of nobodies. And they wondered where he went during the whole film.
That's fair. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. But I do like that, like weird using the tape as a vigilante justice kind of thing. That's interesting.
I would just give it to my boss.
Towards the end of the film, when Rachel and Noah return to the cabin, there's a sign that says closed until further notice. Originally, the manager died from watching the tape. Oh, okay. What's your, is this your card guy?
Yeah,
Okay. That
he
would make
deserved it.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I don't suggest you do this at home, but if you were to play this film frame by frame, the very moment that Katie Embry is scared at the beginning of the movie, you'll see all the images from the haunted tape on the video. Each image appears for a fraction of a second in the movie and is repeated again at the end of the movie. Now, I'm not going to try this. I'm just going to take it as the truth because I don't have the time to see if it works.
I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I'm not hard to please. That makes sense to me. And then The Ring started the American Japanese remake boom, which I guess I already spoiled that fact. I'm sorry.
That's okay. What was your least favorite? Why was it one missed call?
Yeah, I was gonna say it was probably one missed call, because it was boring and didn't make any sense.
I
Pulse
didn't
was
see the original
okay.
one.
The original one missed call had a scene at the end that scared the shit out of me.
I didn't see the
Um,
original Pulse either.
the original Pulse, I have not seen the original Pulse, but I've seen the remake of Pulse with Frankie Muniz. And
Yeah.
was your least favorite one missed call?
Yeah. It just, I had the ringtone for a while. It was a catchy, cute ringtone on my LG chocolate.
Can you imagine like a crappy American remake of like Noroi? Nor
I didn't like that movie. It
I thought
wasn't
it
scary.
I thought it was really good, but yeah, I don't get why
Yeah,
everybody thinks it's
like
so scary. It
when
was
you're
like,
Googling scariest movies of all time, that one comes up almost first.
yeah,
And so I'm like, I tucked into it. I settled down. I got the popcorn and I'm ready. And I'm like, okay.
it's like really overstuffed. It's super
Mm-hmm.
dense. It's like 2 hours long and it's nonstop information.
You know what else I
And
didn't like? I watched Shutter, the Taiwanese version, not the remake, the
mhm,
one that America did. I didn't like that either.
yeah, yeah. I think that plot is like interesting. I don't know. I don't want to like spoil a bunch of movies, but there's a reason that I like that plot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I it doesn't really like stick in my brain the way that The Ring does. The
Yeah,
Ring,
because
like
the ring is
Ringu
so
did.
good.
Yeah, Ringu
Mm.
and Juon
I
both
didn't
stuck
watch
out in my
Ju-on
head,
either. I need to get on this.
and
But you know what I
Dumplings.
didn't like about Ringo?
What?
Was that cabin she went to was too nice.
It was very nice, and same with the house with the Grudge. I'm like, why would you like hate living here forever?
Right.
Like it's
Like
beautiful,
when Naomi Watts went to that cabin, it was a shithole.
right? Yeah, it's like a
But
place that
in
you can imagine teenagers renting for a weekend
right.
on their own
But
dime.
Ringu, it was like a split level. It had a nice TV with a VHS player built into it. It was carpeted. And I said, this place isn't haunted.
Oh God. Yeah,
Well,
I mean, huh. All right. Should we do a walkthrough this
yeah, I
movie?
guess. I mean, we spent 22 minutes talking about all the other Japanese movies we liked.
That's true. So I guess we should move the hell on. So The Ring starts with Katie, who is the beautiful, the undeniable, the incredible Amber Tamblyn before she was married to David Cross, um, and her friend Becca are having a sleepover in Katie's house. And Katie recounts the story of a supposedly cursed videotape. Well, Becca brings it up as like an urban legend, and
Mm-hmm.
then Katie admits that she saw the tape. Um, but
I have a hard time. Okay. I have a hard time watching this because of Scary Movie.
yes,
because it's so funny to me.
Um,
For those of you that
yeah,
don't
well,
know, Scary Movie, maybe it was Scary Movie 2, I think. I'd have to go back and watch them all. In my head, they're still funny, so I don't want to do that to myself.
I know, like I'm afraid to watch them. I'm sure they're trash,
But they
but
spoofed all these famous horror movies, including Scream, The Ring, others, The Grudge.
we should do a mini-sode about the scary movie. Like we should watch Scary
Yeah,
Movie and do a mini-sode
I'm
about it.
down.
Okay. Um so yeah, Katie is like saying, like I did watch the tape, and then she like fakes like dying in Becca's arms so Becca doesn't take it seriously anymore. And then weird shit starts happening. Like Katie goes downstairs and like the TV just turns itself on and it's just white noise, which like, going back to that sleepover scenario for the next like 3 years of my life, if there was white noise on the television, I couldn't.
Does that even happen anymore?
Um, yes, it does, at least on my TV.
Oh, not on mine. But I remember like whenever I was a child and I went and saw this in theaters, I came home and turned the TV on and it went straight to white noise.
And you're like, ah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So she keeps like the TV keeps turning itself on and playing white noise, and then she sees like a trail of water and follows it up the stairs to her bedroom, where the camera zooms in on a well, and
That's it.
that's it. Then zooms in on Katie as her face kind of turns gray, and then we hard cut to pretty ass Naomi Watts.
Mm-hmm. Screaming on the cell phone in front of her teacher, her son's teacher.
Right. So Aiden, let's talk about the kid Aiden.
I don't
Um,
like him.
I was gonna say, where do you rank him on worst, like child horror
Okay.
movie child?
Worst horror movie child was that girl from the movie I watched the other day. I can't remember what it was, but I told you about it. We talked about it. Oh, from Psycho Gorman.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, she's pretty. I know that like this is a controversial opinion, and
oh yeah.
we share it, but
Mm-hmm.
according to Letterboxd, we are about the only ones. That girl in Psycho Gorman was annoying as fuck.
Also, I would tie her with the child from the Babadook. Also insufferable.
I know that
Um,
that's like the point, but like, oh my god.
yeah, we get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um Aiden is like, I think rewatching this for the first time in a super long time, I found Aiden annoying and superfluous, and I didn't want him to be there.
I did appreciate that he wasn't in the entire movie. Um, he was only in most of it. So at least we got a break. I don't understand if he was psychic or if it was just somebody telling him what's going on.
They never really explain it. It's like this
Mm-hmm.
weird plot hole. There's like a couple of things that we'll get to that. So Rachel goes to her son Aiden's school, and the teacher asks her to talk, and she shows Rachel these drawings that Aiden has made of Katie, who was his cousin and babysitter and frequent babysitter, who he has been drawing pictures of her like in a grave underground for some
Creepy.
time. Even though she had only died 3 days earlier, he drew the pictures a week before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we just get like a little bit of like just story between like Rachel and Aiden that sort of shows the relationship. Like Aiden calls her Rachel,
Mm-hmm.
um, and he's like a little man. Like I don't know how to explain it. He's just like,
He's like a tiny, annoying adult.
yes, yeah, like a weird type A small
Mm-hmm.
adult. Um, so we get a little bit of dialogue between them where she's putting him to bed at night and he says we don't have enough time, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, like I know I've been working a lot lately, and he was like, no, before we die. And she said, we don't really know when we're going to die. And he says, like, well, Katie knew. She told me she was going to die soon. Um, so, yeah.
And then we jump to Katie's wake
Mm,
at Aunt's house. I don't know if we forgot a name, but Katie's doctors couldn't tell the mom what was wrong with her. So she asked Rachel to figure out how she died.
right. And this is when we see the, like, what became a meme at one point. Like, her in the closet with her face all distorted because she says, like, I found her. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Terrifying.
it's not, yeah, it's not comfortable to look at. I'll give you that. Um,
But we also see Lane's boyfriend from the Gilmore Girls. I think his name was Dave in the show.
Seth
He's
Cohen.
yeah,
He's
he's
Seth
outside
Cohen.
smoking it. Okay, well, he was dating Lane in Gilmore Girls, so
Well, his real name is Adam Brody, but we're just like basically we're just arguing back and forth about which character from his teen years he should be
yeah,
addressed as. For
Dave
me,
from Gilmore Girls.
no, it's It's Seth Cohen from the OC. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Well, he's outside. Rachel goes outside to smoke a cigarette because this is the early 2000s and you could smoke while being a good guy.
Yes. Also, I know that you're really happy because she smoked outdoors.
She did smoke outside, not inside, not in front of a child. I mean, I guess these people might be children, but they're also smoking, so I feel less bad about it.
She actually like bums a cigarette off of a 16-year-old.
Hmm.
Is she's trying to do like the whole like how do you
I'm
do fellow
cool.
kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
You can
yeah.
trust me.
I'm hip. I'm
Yeah.
cool. I'm Naomi
Yeah.
Watts.
Yeah.
I'm Australian. Or was she British? I don't remember.
Australian. She's
I'm
Australian.
Australian. Yeah, the other guy, Noah's British. No, he was
Mm.
from New Zealand.
Wow.
I'll never know.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, Dave from Gilmore Girls tells us that um, Becca was there when it happened. Um, the other girl lets it spill that Josh died the same night, Katie's boyfriend. You know, Aiden goes up to Katie's room. We see the water damage on the floor from the other night. Um, there's a little blur that moves across the TV screen. And then Rachel shows up and she opens up one of Katie's binders, her little trapper keeper, and all of the pictures, like because she had cut out like Vogue magazine models or whatever, and she
Right.
had sharpied over the faces, like long hair, like scratching out their faces and drawing big circles.
Yeah.
And then she finds a ticket for film. Now, children, what you might not remember is in 2002, you couldn't just take a picture and it'd be right there for you to have at all times. Even though Naomi Watts does do that later in this movie with a digital camera, it
Yeah.
wasn't the norm. You
Right.
had a 35 millimeter camera and it used film.
Right. Or you got a disposable camera
Mm-hmm.
because that was a thing. You just had there were cameras that existed that you just used to take photographs and then throw in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Yeah.
so you would go and you would put this whole camera into a bag and then give it to somebody else to make the pictures happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
Life
And
before
unless you're
cell phones.
Robin Williams, it was not a 1 hour photo. You had to wait usually like time, like 2, 3 days to get your
Yeah.
film back.
Yeah, 1 hour. If you found a place that actually had 1 hour photos, it was expensive as hell.
Giant Eagle did.
Yes, they did. And there
Mm-hmm.
were a couple times that I used it and spent all of my allowance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she takes the ticket, um, and the next day, she goes to pick up the pictures and she sees that all of the faces of the people who died were distorted,
Mm-hmm.
um, or like blurred or whatever. Um, So she decides that she's going to write a story about this. And she goes to work and we see like a little bit of her relationship with her boss, and her boss is saying like you're fired and she's like no, I'm not, which like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Um, and she says that she's working on too big of a story. So, um, she decides to go up to the cabin where Katie and her friends watch the tape. She gets to the front desk, and there's like a bunch of tapes that are just there, which like also, oh, never mind. I know how the tape got there. Anyway, um,
How?
well,
Oh, I remember.
yeah, yeah, we'll get there. But like also like, did she walk it there and put it on the shelf?
I don't even know how she made the copy.
Um,
Because never mind. We'll get there.
yeah, I have lots of like questions, just
Hmm.
nothing but questions. Um, so yeah, she goes to the cabin. The manager tells her like, like he remembered the kids from cabin 12, and she finds the tape on the shelf, and then she says that,
Steals it.
yeah, she says that she's gonna rent cabin 12, and she does, and then she watches the tape. um it's like, do you want to do the description of the tape?
Okay. So back in my day, children, in 2002, we didn't have DVDs. You had a VHS. You had to rewind it when you were done,
Yes.
and then you put it in this big box, sometimes attached to your TV. And then you had to hit play. Okay. You with me? So she puts this tape in, and we get this eerie high pitched noise. And we see this Japanese maple tree. It is orange. It makes
On
no,
fire.
that's in real life. Um, the movie starts with my notes are weird. The movie starts with this glowing circle, otherwise known as a ring.
A ring, yes.
Um,
What?
there's some bloody water. There's a chair. There's a lady combing her hair. There is this little demon girl in the mirror. There's a fly crawling around. There's a bunch of maggots. There's a horse eye, which you wouldn't know that just by watching it the first time. Um, then there's that same maple tree lit up with the sun behind it. No, it's on fire this time. Then there's some dead horses, and then a woman jumps off a cliff.
Mm-hmm. So
It's also a millipede,
yeah, the millipede, like that's like
way
next
too
to,
big.
yeah, it's way too big. It's like next to
Mm-hmm.
like a miniature chair and desk. Um,
And there's a
so
finger going through a nail.
yeah, which I thought I imagined because I didn't even see it this time. Maybe
I
it's
saw it
not in the Hulu
twice.
version. I don't
I,
know.
I watched it on Paramount Plus.
Oh, okay. Um, so this video, I don't know if I'm jaded because I've seen too many like short student films now. But it just looked like a short student film to me and was not scary anymore. I wish I was so excited when it started up because I was like, "Oh, this is so creepy. Like this is going to freak me out." It did
Hmm.
not. It's kind of, it feels dated to me. I don't know.
Well, just then,
I'm sorry.
Rachel's the phone in the cabin rings, and she gets all spooked, and she walks over and picks it up, and then this little girl says, 7 days, which is the way you would answer any phone call in 2002 and shortly thereafter. Um, you would call anybody and just say that into the phone
Right, right, right.
because
Yeah.
that was cool.
Right, yes.
It's just like doing the grudge noise, which we used to do, you know?
I can't do it right. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all we used to do in high school was call people on their landline and say 7 days
Yeah.
in the grudge noise.
Right. Um, so the next day, Rachel goes back to, this takes place in Seattle. Um, Rachel goes back home and she calls her, we don't know it yet, but her ex-boyfriend, essentially, Noah.
Mm-hmm.
And she calls him over to her apartment and says, "Take my picture." And so he takes her picture and she's all, distorted. They use a digital camera, which at that time was expensive and crazy. Hi,
It had like
Clarence.
the littlest screen you've ever seen.
Yes. Hello, Clarence. Oh boy. So she then decides to show him the video,
Ugh.
which is so annoying to me because
Mm-hmm.
if she had even like a shadow of a doubt, why did she show him the video? Like, okay, like I'm going to die in 7 days and now you're going to die in 7 days. Especially like,
Well, to be fair, she didn't want to show him, but he insisted.
right. So he asks her to make a copy. And so she makes a copy of the tape. Yeah. um, so then what happens next? She starts like having nightmares. Is that what comes next? She has the nightmares.
Um, okay, next she takes the tape somewhere to watch it slowed down, and she goes to Noah's house. We learn that the tape doesn't have a control track, whatever the fuck that is. Um, you can't see a camera in the shot of the mirror whenever Anna Morgan is brushing her hair,
Right.
which you should be. Apparently, you can stretch a VHS to get more picture out of it. Did you know that? I learned that from this movie.
I mean, it could be true and it could not be true. I have no idea,
I have
to be
no way to
honest.
know, and I'm not even going to Google it because I
I'm
don't want
like,
to
yeah,
know.
sure, that's the gospel truth right there.
Mhm.
I accept
Um,
this as fact.
Rachel goes 2 days later because now it's Saturday and it's day 3. Rachel goes to a mental institution to talk to Becca. Becca doesn't feel like talking. Becca says that you're gonna die soon. You have 4 days left. By looking at her hand, she can tell that.
Okay, let's pause right here.
Mm-hmm.
Becca never watched the tape. Why is Becca like? Why is she clairvoyant? Why does she know how many days are left? Like,
Hmm.
where does her knowledge of this come from? Is very confused.
I don't know. In the book, Ringu is based on a book called Ringu, um, which is a story about a man. They swapped the gender roles in the movies. So in Ringu, the main character was a female. Noah was her ex-husband, and her daughter was a son. And in the American version, they kept it the same way, so it's opposite the book. But Becca in the book had a fear of TVs. Um, in the book, Samara could come out of any shiny surface. I don't know what's going on. I never read the book. I don't have the time. Um, but it delved more into this in that book from the research I did for 5 minutes before this.
Oh, okay, works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, yeah, that happens. Becca like tells her like, you have 4 days essentially. Um, so through some more digging and persuasion, Rachel finds out that there was a horse ranch owned by Anna Morgan and her husband Richard, and um, they had a daughter named Samara.
Mm-hmm.
So the horses at the Morgan Ranch drowned themselves, committed horse suicide
Yep.
for some reason, which supposedly caused Anna to become completely depressed and commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she goes to the island, right? No, she doesn't go to the island yet.
She pulls a whole ass chunk of hair out of her mouth. Her phone starts leaking.
Right, because yeah, she asks her sister to watch Aiden for a few days so she can go to the island, and then she like pulls the cord out of
Oh,
her throat. Yeah.
Aiden, this is when she wakes up from her nightmare where she pulls the hair out of her mouth and she has that
Mm-hmm.
handprint on her arm. And
Right.
then she goes into Aiden's room to see if he's sleeping or whatever he's doing, but he's not there. He's in the living room watching the cursed tape.
Right, and she screams in Australian,
Leave him alone.
"No!" um, so then she calls, and this is where like this is where I really start to struggle with this movie. So she calls Noah, and there's like this really dramatic reveal that Noah is Aiden's father, as if we couldn't have already figured it out.
Right.
And I don't understand the point of this plot. I don't get it. Like, why is it here?
Mm.
I like, why is that imperative for me to know? Um so anyway, then Rachel gets on a ferry. She heads over to this island where the horse farm was, to do some investigating. And
Mm.
when she's on the way out there, um, a horse on the ferry uh, breaks free and commits suicide by jumping
Well,
over.
this is the part that bothers me about this movie. She provokes that horse.
Yeah.
She goes up to it in its horse house and is like, "Hey, horse, how are you?" And the horse is like, "Please, bitch, get out of here. Like, I'm sleeping." And she goes, "No, I'm so nice. Let me pet you." And he said, "I don't want to talk to you. We have nothing to say to each other anymore. We're done here." And she says, "I'm so nice. Please let me braid your hair. And then we'll go out for mimosas afterwards." And this horse says, "Fuck it. I'm out." So this horse, like, this is after she won't leave this horse alone for 3 times. So this horse kicks his way out of his horse house, runs out, and then this little girl's like, "Daddy, my horse." And then the horse jumps over the edge of the ferry and it then gets sucked under the propellers. Is that what you call them on a boat? I don't give a
I
fuck.
think so. It sounds right.
The boat propellers, and then we see the bloody water like from the videotape from
So it's
earlier.
it's all happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um so anyway, she goes and she finds Richard Morgan. And he just refuses to really talk about the video or about his daughter. Um and like essentially, like, tells her to get the hell out. Um because like he knew that she was a reporter, and he's tired of the reporters coming around and wanting to know what happened. So she goes to a local doctor, um and the doctor tells her that she tells the doctor that she's been having like terrible nightmares, and like, she watched a tape and she's been like struggling ever since. And the doctor was like, "Oh, it's been a long time since someone has said that to me." And Rachel finds out that, Anna Morgan could not carry a baby and adopted a child named Samara. And um, Anna started having like fucked up visions and dreams, um, as soon as Samara was around. So both of them were sent to a mental institution. And that's the last that anybody had ever heard from them, supposedly. Um, so Noah, meanwhile, goes to the mental institution, tricks the people at the desk, and gets breaks into the file room and finds Anna's file. And he discovers that like she had a bunch of miscarriages, and then there was like a video of Samara that was supposed to be there, but the video was missing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Rachel, sneaks back into Richard Morgan's house,
Very
and
poorly, might I
very,
add.
yeah,
She breaks into his
loud,
house.
and watches the video there.
I know,
It just
guys. If you're gonna break into somebody's house, you'd have to like walk around in heels and then like pop a video in and just sit there and watch it at full volume.
Why would you watch the video? Take the video and go.
I don't know.
um but anyway, she finds the missing video.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the video is Samara in the mental institution, and like, there's like somebody saying to her like, "You don't want to hurt anybody," and she's like, "But I do." Didn't DeVay Chase win something for this? She won like a an MTV movie award, and like
Might have.
somebody had to like lift her up to give her acceptance speech because she was so teeny tiny at the
Oh.
time. Yeah.
She scared herself
Yeah.
filming this.
Yeah. Um so she watches this video and Samara is saying that she wants to help people and she wants to hurt people and she's very sorry, but it won't stop. Um and
Oh, she was the girl from Donnie Darko
yeah, she was the little sister in Donnie Darko.
and S Darko. Ugh.
Ugh. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. I don't know where DeVay Chase has been, but she was,
She was in Lilo and Stitch,
yes,
Spirited Away.
okay.
That's it.
um, so anyway, essentially we find out that Samara Morgan, was maybe paranormal. Um, that's never really explained. Like how she was able to cause visions and like if she was like the daughter of Satan or what, we don't really know. Um,
What I found out from my 5 minutes of studying was she had this psychic ability to project images into people's minds,
okay. I
which was
guess that,
never discussed in the movie.
yeah. No, not at all. So Richard, of course, hears Anna loudly watching a videotape in his home,
Yeah. And then
and
beats her with a brick or something.
yeah, he hits her with something, and then he commits suicide in front of her by taking
Yeah.
all of his electric stuff into the bathtub.
Somehow Noah gets there right in time for this.
Yeah, and just lets himself into the house as well.
We're all
Like,
just letting ourselves into Richard Morgan's house.
it's a party.
Um, so Noah shows up as soon right after Richard Morgan kills himself, and they decide to go check the barn. There's a big ass ladder, just like from the tape, big ass ladder. They climb up there. There's a little loft room for Samara. It has a bed, a rocking horse, a chair, a TV, and they immediately start peeling off the wallpaper because that's what you do when you break into somebody's house.
Right,
You
yes.
peel off the wallpaper,
Mm-hmm.
and they see burned into the wood, or is it like it was like burned into that wood? It was like
Uh-huh.
lasered into it. Is a tree, and Rachel says, "I know that tree."
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Um.
it's the tree from the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And her and Noah. I almost called him Josh for some reason. Her and Noah, they go back to the cabin and discover that it was built on top of a well, where we'll get to this. Okay, yeah, no, we'll do this part, and then I have a question.
Okay.
Um, so Rachel falls into the well after being like hit with like a flying TV.
Mm-hmm.
She's pushed
This
into
is
the well.
after Noah takes an axe and just fucks up this cabin floor,
Right.
which they did not pay for
No. No.
because they snuck into it this time.
Yeah, they just keep sneaking into places that they're not invited or paying
Mm-hmm.
for.
Good thing
Um,
they're not vampires.
they'd be dead. They'd be
Mm-hmm.
so dead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Rachel falls in and then she has a vision and somehow determines that Samara is still alive, which is weird and dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And she she finds Samara's skeleton and she has like a vision that like we find out what happened, which is that Anna suffocated Samara and pushed her into the well. But Samara didn't die from the suffocation. She survived in the well for 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
um so Noah informs Rachel that the time like that she should have like died has passed, and like this makes Rachel think that setting Samara free from the well broke the curse. Okay, so this is how I guess the tape got to the cabin.
I
But what
honestly
it
don't know.
did Samara take her little ghost hands and walk the how did this tape happen? What is the tape? Like,
Okay. Well, we know from the reboot of this franchise in 2016, Rings, which I did not watch. Like I watched like 20 minutes of it. We know that they are mass producing copies of the tape, but I could not tell you how it got here. I haven't seen Ringu recently enough to remember if they touched on it.
me either.
And by recently enough, I watched it in 2021 over the summer. Can't
Really?
remember a thing. I was on my Asian horror movie kick this summer.
Yes. Um, so Rachel goes home and she's hanging out with Aiden and saying like, I'm going to take some time off at work and spend time with you. And she says like they're, not going to have this problem anymore where they're going to die in 7 days or whatever. And he
Mm-hmm.
was like, "What did you do? Did you help her? You're not supposed to help her. She never sleeps."
She never does sleep, which I don't
Yes.
understand.
Yes. Once again, I don't understand what he means. Um,
Oh, because remember in the whenever she was in the insane asylum, they were just showing her staring at the clock for hours and hours because she never sleeps, and that's why they like that's what the parents said about her. So they took her when she was there, and she never slept.
right, because the horses were noisy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
how noisy could they be?
I'm probably pretty noisy.
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't been around a lot of horses, so.
I drove past two on my way home from work.
Ooh, nice.
There's a riding trail. There's a horse riding place right next to my work.
I want to go.
Poop everywhere, all over the roads.
Oh yeah. Also, I don't
Mhm.
really know how I feel about horseback riding, but
I'm not
um,
here for it. I don't have the time.
um, so Rachel realizes that Noah is going to die, and so she, hightails it to his apartment, and she's calling him, and he's not answering because he's the coup de grace set piece of this film is happening,
Mhm.
in which his TV turns on, the well is there, and
Cindy, the
Samara,
TV's leaking.
yeah, and Samara like slowly crawls out of the well and then out of the TV screen.
It's so good. It's so good. Don't judge me with those eyes. It's so good. It's terrifying.
CGI has come a long way since this movie.
I don't know. I watched a movie from 100 years ago that's still had pretty good CGI.
100 years ago.
Yeah, it was Hoxon. You ever heard of it? It was
Oh,
that's they were
yeah.
I don't know how they did it. It was like they had people floating, they had people see through. How did they do it 100 years ago?
Stop motion and wires.
Oh God, it was good.
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
love
It
it.
was
It's a great
100
movie.
years ago or 99 years ago.
Something like that. I don't. It's old. It's super
Came
old.
out in 1920 something. It's
Yeah.
old.
Um, my neighbor's back. Um,
You're gonna
uh,
be in trouble.
so he dies when Samara's hair kind of parts, and she like looks at him like,
And then she
and
burns all the images of the tape onto his brain.
yeah, and he dies.
Hmm.
So Rachel gets there and like she turns his body around in a chair and screams at the top of her lungs and
But
then
we
just
don't see
leaves.
it. I was so mad.
Well, we do see it
I
later.
know, and it got me. It got me so good.
Well, like she just leaves and just lets his new girlfriend find.
Well, what would you do, honestly? Honestly, what would you do?
Why wouldn't she tell the new girlfriend?
I would have just because then you'd get blamed for it. So you want to go down for murder?
How could you get blamed for a distorted face
I don't
and
know.
somebody dying
The
of
police
like
will
just
blame
their
you for
heart just
anything.
stopping?
Yeah, they'll
um
pin it on you.
okay, that's fair. Um so Rachel goes home and she burns the original tape. And
Dummy.
yeah, yeah. She like realizes that Samara was truly evil and Rachel like is like trying, like she was like, what did I do that he didn't? Why not me? What did I do that he didn't? And then she remembers that she made a copy of the tape. So she saves Aiden by having him copy the tape and show it to someone else. And that's how the movie ends, very abruptly.
Mm-hmm. Chef kiss.
Uh-huh. Um, I have to admit this time, okay, I'm gonna have to pick my review live on air again.
Mm.
But every week on Idiot's Guide to Horror, we like to tell you some other uh, let me try this again. We like to give you some other reviews from around the web so that you don't have to just base your opinion entirely off of the shit that we say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, Chris,
We
this
call
week,
this segment other people's shit.
other people's shit or just movie reviews, whichever
Yeah,
one
you
suits you.
or both.
Mm-hmm.
So this week I went to Letterboxd because I was already there.
Mm-hmm.
I also checked Amazon and I checked Google, but I went back to Letterboxd and I found this review from SP Inquisitor 69, who gave this movie half a star, and they said, thought this was a movie about Lord of the Rings. I was wrong. Needs a better title. Kids could find this wanting to see a new sequel to Lord of the Rings and get traumatized for life. And I laughed.
That's very good. So
Mhm.
there's a few here that I'm enjoying very much. Um, there's one that there are no stars, like they just didn't do a star rating at all. It's from
Mhm.
Jack on Letterboxd, and Jack says, "I love this pretentious demon doing the absolute most with her experimental art film. Go off,
Mhm.
Miss Samara, a true auteur." But then there's another one from Logan, 4 stars. Why is so much of this movie about goddamn horses?
I saw that one too. Because she killed all the horses. I will defend this movie till my very breath.
That's fair. I get it. We all have those. I like Garden State, so
I don't think I've ever seen it.
yeah.
Josh
Um,
Hartnett,
no, Zach Braff.
Natalie Portman.
Yes,
Mhm. Okay.
yeah. Everybody hates Garden State except for me. It's my trash. Don't touch my trash.
I
Um,
thought when I picked this movie, I was like, finally, a good one. And then nobody liked it. And I was so disappointed.
um, I mean, it's not. It's like enjoyable, like you can watch it, but like we'll get to like we'll get to the things.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bechdel test results, yes, it passes because she talks to her sister
Mm-hmm. Katie
about
talks to Becca about a tape.
yes. There's a bunch of females with names. Females. Ugh. Ugh. There's a bunch of like women with names
Mm-hmm.
um, that talk to each other about something other than a man. Duvernay test. Big old fucking no.
I don't remember one person of color in the movie. Oh, yes, I do now. The man that works in the mental institution
Oh, right.
who
And
got no at the tape.
yes. Yeah, he has like
Who's at
three
my front
lines and
door?
he's there to be like an aggressive black man. So that's his purpose and
Mm-hmm.
it's not very, I don't know. No, this does not pass the Duvernay test at all. Um so Idiot's Guide to Gore, like a 0?
Like a 0.
Yeah, I guess like maybe like a 0.5 for the horse blood water.
Banging his shins.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That horse banged his shins pretty hard. So there you go. 1 out of 5.
That horse banged his shins.
Yeah, off the
Um,
ferry.
he did. I know. I know. So every week on Idiot's Guide to Horror, we like to imagine that we have been given the keys to remake or reboot this movie that we are talking about. And then we decide what is flawless, aka what we would keep in the movie. And if we could change something, what we would throw out the second we had the chance. So, Chris, what was flawless?
All right. I just want to point out first that this is how you remake a movie. You keep enough of the original in here to keep it true to the story, and then you change everything else to make it good. I'm not saying Ringu wasn't good because Ringu was obviously better, but like how often do you get an American remake that is good?
Hmm.
Let Me In, good.
Yeah, Let
The
Me In was
Ring,
good.
good.
And we're done.
Yeah.
And we've found them.
Old Boy,
N-
steaming garbage.
don't even. That's. It was so bad. Who did
I
that? That was
haven't.
Spike Lee that
That
made
was
that, right?
Spike Lee, and that the third Olsen sister was in it.
Yes.
Wanda. Nope.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Elizabeth
Yes.
Olsen, who
Yeah.
played Wanda.
Wanda in
Yeah.
WandaVision, and
Hmm.
in all the Marvel movies.
It
Anyway.
was sponsored by Apple because every time you turn around, there's somebody with an iPhone or a MacBook. Hey, look,
Oh.
my new iPhone 13. Oh, when did that get
Oh.
here?
Oh. Wow. Okay. You're fancy. I
Hmm.
still have a 10.
Oh, I grabbed it on my way to work yesterday like an idiot because I still have my 12 and they look identical. I haven't returned my 12 yet because I traded this one in for this one because
Hmm.
I got $800 off of it.
Wow. How? And you know what? Wait.
AT&T, they just give you whatever they want.
Anyway, guys.
The opening of this movie is iconic. This is maybe my favorite movie opening. Mm, maybe Scream, maybe this. It
Um.
is a toss up.
Understandable. Okay. All right. What
Maybe
about
Scream
it?
4, maybe this.
What about it feels so iconic to you? Can you put words to it?
I think it's just because it was spoofed and it's so funny to me now. But like this is what you think of whenever you think of like the opening of a horror movie. It's two girls on the couch or on the bed talking about boys. One of them goes to get a snack, and then the girl from Frozen stabs Rogue in the stomach. You know? Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. Um.
It's just so perfect. And now it's like cliche, but I feel like this was the height of it, you know?
Mhm.
It's just so good
It's
and
fair.
forever duplicated after this.
Yeah. I would agree that the opening. I think that the opening is the most chilling part of the entire movie.
Hmm.
Um. Just like it's very simple with like the TV turning. Like I like a real simple scare.
Hmm.
Um. And the TV turning itself on, no matter how many times she turned it off. Um. That like that's good. That's really good. That makes a lot of sense to me. Um, what else did I like?
Everything.
The mystery is it's like an interesting and engaging mystery. Um, and it unravels at like a pretty steady pace. Um, I like that Rachel is an investigative journalist and we're sort of learning all of these things along with her.
Hmm.
So that's cool. So if you could change something, what would it be?
Less dead horses.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I agree with that. Is that it?
I don't know. You say something. Maybe I'll agree with you.
Okay, so I have a list of complaints. I'm sorry. Sorry. I know, but like this isn't the first time we've disagreed.
I feel like it might be.
So the color saturation is awful. It's drab, it's ugly. It is so this movie is heinously ugly
It
because
was
of
on
this
purpose.
like it's like borderline unwatchable though. Like for me, I don't know. I just feel like it's like oppressive. Like just yeah, unwatchable with like the grays and the teals and like it's so heavily filtered and it is just not for me, man. And this was I understand this was a really big thing in the early 2000s. Everybody was like orange and teal, like it was either warm colors or cool colors and like you picked one and that was your independent movie. Like, there wasn't just regular filming of a movie. There wasn't natural lighting. There was just like orange and teal. I know. But this one is like so gray. Um and I struggled with that. I did not like that. Um Also like I just once again, the soapiness of like the Rachel Noah thing. Don't know why it needed to be there. Don't really understand why Aiden needs to be there, to be honest. Like, I don't. He's never explained why does he know all these things? Like, is it just because he's more receptive to things as a child? Like, we have no idea. We're never told what Aiden is or like
Hmm.
how he's like doing this or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I just I guess those are my two big ones, like the color saturation and like the soapiness and like melodrama that doesn't feel necessary. I feel like it just like detracts from the mystery and you like expect it to be like thematically linked somehow and it's not at all. So, yeah. Anyway, did you think of
Okay.
anything else while I was bitching?
No, it's a pretty good movie. I
I mean, it's entertaining. Like it's entertaining. I don't know. I guess that like when it comes to PG-13 horror, I have like higher expectations because like it needs to like make like a complete thing.
hmm
And it has to work a little bit harder to like make a complete thing. And this comes like so close. And like I would almost be able to like just forgive like the ugliness of the movie if like they had just taken out like think about if they had taken out all of the weird drama, like all the weird like romantic and family drama. This movie, Chris, would be a tight 90.
It would be.
So that's all I'm saying.
And I do like a tight 90 minutes.
You do. I know you're a fan of the tight 90. I am also a
Hmm.
fan of the tight 90, which is why this just feels like just a little padded,
Hmm.
like a little overstuffed. So what do you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5? I already know, but what do you rate it?
Unfortunately, for those at home, I rate this movie a 4.5 out of 5. Is it for nostalgia? Maybe. Is it because Naomi Watts is stunning? Perhaps.
She is unreal pretty.
I know it's disgusting how good looking she is.
Yeah.
Um, but I give this movie a 4.5 out of 5, and it will stay on my top 10 list of movies until something better comes along. And nothing has since 2002. I mean,
Okay.
nothing better has come along, but like my top 10 is like
Ever
pretty
changing.
padded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like It
Um.
Follows, The Blair Witch Project, The Ring, Hereditary, stuck, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That. Those are good core principles.
What about you? Better be more than a two.
I think I'm gonna have to go with like a 2.5 or a 3. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have to
No,
be
I'm
honest.
sorry because I felt like this was such a good movie and we would all love it. And
No,
it's
you're
literally just me.
listen. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. Like it's not your fault that like I have trouble having fun. Like
No, we have fun. You're gonna go and watch Triangle. You're gonna love it. We're gonna have fun.
yeah. um it just didn't all come together for me this time. I have like a special fondness in my heart for The Ring because like of how it was like honestly, the first movie that truly scared me,
Hmm.
and that like I kept like going back to it for that feeling. Um, so like I do have this like you know this like nostalgic attachment to it in that way, which is like, the ring is how I realized that I liked being scared and that being
Hmm.
scared was fun for me and like gave me a feeling of like escapism or whatever and like relieved my anxiety. Um, but I think because of that, like rewatching it as an adult, it just didn't have the same like oomph,
Hmm.
and maybe it was just too disappointing for me because of that. So like my rating might not be, it might be biased, it might be skewed.
Well,
So
so is mine. So
anyway, guys. So these days, man, we are running a tight ship today. Look at this.
I
Um,
saw.
these days, we have started a new segment where we recommend things that aren't horror movies. It's called Idiot's Guide to Non-Horror.
We're so clever.
Chris, what is your recommendation this week?
Unfortunately, my recommendation is horror. I'm sorry. I need you all to stop what you're doing and go watch Midnight Mass on Netflix.
Okay,
It is not a horror movie. It is a horror TV show.
you're gonna have to do
Seven,
two.
me,
Yeah, you're gonna have to do two.
two. Okay, I'll think of someone else. It is 7 episodes, and you're like, the first 2 episodes, you're like, everyone's recommending this, but I could not tell you why. I don't get it. It's like a weird drama, but I'm into it. I'm watching it. I'm not scared. By episode 4.5, you're like, fuck. Episode 5, that was the most scared I've ever been. And then 6 and 7 is just the climax. It was so good. It was pure terror, but it takes a couple episodes to get into it.
Okay.
Also, read Elvira's book, Cassandra Peterson's book, Yours Cruelly, Elvira, which I got my copy in the mail. Last week, I've read 4 pages. It is funny. I don't have a lot of time these days to read because I work an easy 60 hours a week. Then I'm watching a movie a day for 31 days. So I literally have not one free minute ever. And then I want to date, which I can't talk about on the podcast in case this person listens. Guys, I'll tell you about it. Hit me up on Twitter. I mean, Instagram.
I was gonna say Twitter. Oh no,
Yeah.
is everything okay?
No, I'll use Twitter for us to retweet Kim Petras.
Oh right. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So those are your recommendations. You don't have a non-horror recommendation.
Elvira's book is not horror. It's okay. Um,
It's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to scramble if you don't have a non-horror recommendation.
I'm sorry. All I've been doing for the last 2 weeks is horror.
It's understandable. It's fine. You didn't watch the new Britney Spears documentary even?
Not yet. I am watching He-Man, the new He-Man cartoon on Netflix, and I haven't had time yet
Why didn't you recommend that?
because I only watched 4 episodes. Guys, watch this He-Man Master of the Universe thing, and Netflix did. It's great. It's like a similar style to the Star Wars cartoons they did on Cartoon Network back in the day. You know what I mean? Like the Clone Wars ones.
Right.
But it's He-Man. So
Nice.
yep, that's 3 recommendations, 2 of which were horror.
So I guess for me this week, I'm going to start out with like obviously I've been binging The Sopranos again because The Many Saints of Newark comes out. You know, by the time that you're listening to this, I will probably have already watched The Many Saints of Newark 3 times. So I've been rewatching The Sopranos because it's one of the best television series of all time, and I'm sure that I already recommend The Many Saints of Newark. I'm sure that I already recommend it. Just the same way that right now I can sit here and, knowing, after I've watched it, that I can recommend El Camino, a Breaking Bad story. But I already knew that I could before I even watched El Camino. Because long live Jesse Pinkman. Huzzah. So yeah, I guess that The Sopranos, it's a little bit of Tony Soprano, a little bit of Gabagool for you. That's probably my biggest recommendation. And yeah, that's it. I watched the Britney Spears documentary. I've got to tell you, I did not.
Well, do you see that her dad is no longer the conservator?
Hallelujah, everybody. Jamie
Mm-hmm.
Spears is out.
Dead.
Dead to us, dead to the world.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully going right to prison.
Right. Yeah. Um So Britney is almost free. And this documentary is like pretty, I don't know, it's pretty exploitative. It's pretty like dense. Didn't
Hmm.
really learn a lot from it. Um, my friend and I almost didn't like we didn't really make it through it. We didn't watch the last 20 minutes because it felt very long. So I thought that that was going to be my recommendation when I came back
Hmm.
this week, but it is not. So yeah, since I've just been rewatching The Sopranos and Daria, I've been rewatching Daria
Hmm.
too. Um, both of those things, but definitely The Sopranos. It's you can shut off emotions when you watch The Sopranos. There's no you don't need to bring anything to the table. Have you ever
Someday
seen
I'm
it?
gonna watch. No, my mom keeps telling me to watch it. So do you. So does literally everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Dana keeps telling me to watch it. Hi, Dana. Um, but yeah, I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Well, you're not like a big mafia person, right? Like that's not your.
No, but I did like a movie I saw with James Gandolfini in it. It was him and Susan Sarandon. It was a jukebox musical called Romance and Cigarettes.
Oh, yes. Wasn't no, that wasn't the one that had Paul Giamatti in it.
I
That's
don't
my
remember. I
that's my other
remember.
recommendation. Just Paul Giamatti as a person.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Paul
Go
Giamatti's
watch
entire body of work.
Big Fat Liar.
Yeah.
Was he
Okay.
in that?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, Amanda Bynes.
Yeah. Frankie
Just go
Muniz.
watch Hairspray. Actually, while we're at it, Hairspray, the
Mhm.
musical, but the one with Amanda Bynes in it.
Yes. Nikki
Mhm.
Blonsky, Zac
Mhm.
Efron. Who else was in
John
that? John
Travolta,
Travolta,
Christopher
Christopher
Walken,
Walken.
Catwoman.
Oh yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer was in it. Brittany
Hmm.
Snow. Yeah, that cast was stacked.
Yeah, poor Nikki Blonsky.
I know what happened to her.
She
Where'd she
did that
go?
one movie, and then she started reaching out to everybody on Twitter. She's like, "Hi, I'm Nikki Blonsky, Hairspray. You want to be my friend?"
Oh,
Nobody did.
oh,
I know.
that's very sad.
Queen Latifah.
Queen Latifah, yes, Queen Latifah
Hmm.
was also in it. Okay, so you can email us questions, comments, recommendations to idiotsguidetohorror@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Idiot's Guide to Horror. We have a YouTube channel. It's Idiot's Guide to Horror. Look it up.
Yeah.
Um, we're on Facebook at facebook.com/horror idiots. Please, please rate our podcast on iTunes to help other horror movie fans find us. Please continue to tell friends about us. Look at Clarence's face. He's our mascot. Um, don't you? Oh, oh, don't you want to tell everybody about Clarence? For those of you on YouTube watching this, for those of
We'll
you
put him in the
listening,
thumbnail, guys.
yeah, for those of you listening, Clarence is a tiny dog with a tiny dog face. Um, but yeah, please continue to tell us and tell people about us. Happy spooky season.
We'll be here all month
Yes.
and probably the
And
rest of our lives.
right. So anyway, 7 days.
Yep. I was trying to think of never waste your pain, but I couldn't think of it. Never waste your pain.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.